Welcome to the Swinging at the Savoy evening talk with legends of Lindy Hop. And without any further ado, my name is Elliott Donnelley, and I've been here before Swinging at the Savoy, but the first festival that was held here with Lindy Hop with the Oakland Swing Dance Festival. And I started dancing in 1997, had my first Lindy Hop class in 1998. But more importantly, I've had the pleasure of working with these three amazing and beautiful individuals. And we're very happy to hear that they're all here tonight, and I'd like to start by introducing Miss Sugar Sullivan, Miss Barbara Billups, and last but certainly not least, the incredible, indomitable Chester Whitmore. So, without any further ado, why don't we start to get into it? Sugar, I understand that you started dancing at 9 years old, probably before then, but that's when you started dancing. And I also understand that your mother was a fabulous shake dancer.
Yes.
And that she had danced at the Savoy. So can you tell me a little bit how you started dancing?
No, my mother did not dance at Savoy. She danced at the Renaissance.
Ah.
She was a Rennie Lindy Hopper.
Okay.
Her and my dad. Yeah. But I started, I was tap dancing at 4. I started tap dancing. And when I was around 14, I went to see a movie. And that movie was Hell's a Poppin'. And I said, oh, it's time for a change. Because I had been dancing, tap dancing since 4. I was doing shows for organizations that my grandmother was involved with. They would have their little teas, they would have afternoon parties, and I would entertain. You know, with my little costumes on, I'd do my tap numbers. And so when I saw the Whitey's Lindy Hoppers, I said, I want to do that. I didn't know what it was, but I loved it. I was excited, and my boyfriend and I, we would go to the movies while the movie was running every day to see it after school, all day Saturday and Sunday, just to see that one segment in the movie. And at that time, you could sit in the movies all day until the matron went home. There was a matron that worked in the movies for the children's section. And if you wasn't with an adult, 6 o'clock, she put you out. So that's what we did. We would watch the movie just for that segment, and him and I would concentrate on, well, today we'll see, let's see, this couple over here, let's try to concentrate on what they're doing. And then we would go to Central Park. In New York, we would go to Central Park and find a little corner where there was grass and nobody around, and we would try these steps that we saw on the screen. And we were involved with a teenage canteen that the Pepsi-Cola company that put up in Harlem. It was called the Pepsi-Cola Club. And it was from 13 years old to 18-year-olds. And we went there after school. We did to do our homework. We played games. We had a jukebox. We had a piano. We had pool tables. And so once a month, we would put on a show. And that's the only time our parents was allowed to come to inside the canteen. If they wanted us, they could come to the front desk, and someone would get us for them, because it was strictly for us teenagers. It was run by, there was an African-American policewoman. She was the director. And so this was strictly for teenagers. It was a place to keep us off the streets and keep us out of trouble. So we put on this show. So up until then, I was tap dancing and singing in this show. So then we started trying out our little jazz steps that we were doing. We tried to do from the movies in the show. And that's how I started doing Lindy Hop.
It's amazing. Hello? Yeah. Also, I understand that you had been trained and knew Buster Brown, who was a member of the Copacetic and a legendary tap dancer. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how Buster Brown came into your life and how he influenced you.
Okay, my mother loved entertainers. She catered to entertainers. She would feed them when they was down on their luck, and when they would pawn their tuxedos and their tap shoes, and if they got a gig, she loaned them money to get their things out of pawn. So entertainers always hung around our house. Comedians like Slappy White, Red Fox, and Buster Brown. Well, Buster Brown was in an act called the Three Speed Kings, and they were out of Cleveland, Ohio. They had run away from the gangsters that they were working for at a nightclub. They had to sneak out of town because the gangsters didn't want to let them go. And so they would hang around our house. My mother would make meals for these people, and they would tell me jokes. The dancers would show me steps. And so when I was in dancing school, and Buster and Sylvester, that was two of the Speed Kings, they would, when I come home from my lessons, what they show you today, And I show them my little steps, and I said, well, we have a concert coming up. Once a year, we had a concert. So I says, they said, well, let me see, what's the song you're going to dance to? And show me what your teacher has taught you. So I would tell them the song, and then I'd do whatever steps they had taught me up to then. And they said, well, why don't we try this step? So I was learning a routine at home to that song, and then I would learn a routine at dancing school. And the night of the concert, what routine you think I did, And my teacher would be standing in the wings looking, and so after the second year this happened, she says, the third year, she said, this is your song. I'm looking forward to seeing your routine. But like when I was like 10, they had switched me to the 18-year-olds. I was dancing with the 18-year-olds because I was getting so much knowledge at home, And then finally, Buster told my mother, you're wasting your money now. She's doing professional steps, take her out of school. So then I stopped going to dancing school. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing story. Barbara, how did you start dancing?
Well, I started dancing not as early as Sugar. I was in school during the time, in elementary school, and when they had dancing, we had a dance class way back then, you can learn to dance then. Although the teacher, I realized, she didn't know what she was doing, but we danced, she showed us anyway, and we tried to do it. But after that, and I got in high school, that's when I really started dancing, because we had canteen, we had different things, and we had different dances and so forth. In school, we had plays that we danced, and the plays that we had, it was nice. A lot of time we had a group that they had the fellows on one side and the girls on the next side, and they would teach us a routine. But for some reason, I ended up dancing with the fellows because I didn't want to dance with the girls. Their routine wasn't right. So I ended up being over there dancing with the fellows. So from then on, she decided to let me dance whatever. And whenever we had a dance, she would say, well, okay, Barbara, I put you out front. You do whatever you feel like doing. So that's what I did.
Amazing. I'm going to go back to Sugar and back to you, Barbara, a few times. We're going to bring in Chester a little bit later here. But Barbara, but Sugar, I understand that this is a special year for you. It's a special year. This is the year that you turn 90 years old.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And on April 22nd.
Yes.
Is that correct? April 22nd.
April 22nd.
So the other thing I also know about you is that you do not like anybody to wish you a happy birthday before the birthday.
Correct.
And so just you can recognize that it's her 90th birthday, but please don't wish her a happy birthday until after April 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to celebrate it for the next year.
So it's a big milestone. Well, Sugar, I know that you, in addition to, I think, dancing early on with Buster Brown and getting all that training, you also had a chance to be at the Savoy Ballroom, and you also had a chance to win the Harvest Moon Ball competition in 1955. Does everybody know what the Harvest Moon Ball is or was? Okay. So the Harvest Moon Ball was one of the, maybe I'll say it and then Sugar, you can correct me after I get it wrong. But it was a dance competition that started in 1935. And the idea was that it would be all the boroughs of New York that were represented. They had many different types of dances, the foxtrot, they had Latin dances, but the most energetic and incredible dance of all was the Lindy Hop. And the first year, as I understand, in 1935, they were going to hold the dance in Central Park, and 100,000 people showed up to attend it, and they weren't able to hold it there. So they decided that they had to create more order, so they held it every year after that in Madison Square Garden. And it was it was sponsored by the Daily News. You had all of the top movie stars come. It was sort of like the Academy Awards. It was like a rock concert, but everyone from anybody who was anybody would come to see the Harvest Moon Ball compete. And every year, the most exciting competition was the Lindy Hop division. And most of the times, that division was won by the teams that came out of Harlem in the Savoy Ballroom. And if you won, you were featured in the Daily News, and you got to tour, and it was a very prestigious thing. So that's the history of the Harvest Moon Ball. It was when we look at the old clips from 1935, into the 50s, you would see the dance as it evolved. And so I would, encourage everybody to go Google Harvest Moon Ball, and you'll see a lot of the dancers. But it was a big, big deal to not only be able to be in the competition, but let alone win it. And so in 1955, Sugar won the competition. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that experience. Was that your first competition, dancing at the Harvest Moon Ball? How did you hear about it? What did you think? How did you feel? Talk to us about that time.
Well, we had entered a contest, my partner and I, in 1945 in Central Park. And we had came in first. And this a lady came up to us after the contest, and she said, "Oh, you were so good." She said, "You're good enough to be in the Harvest Moon Ball." And we said, "What is the Harvest Moon Ball?" She said, "Well, it's a contest that's sponsored by the Daily newspaper, and it's held in Madison Square Garden every year." But the Harvest Moon Ball there was 3 ballrooms in New York that was involved. There was the Glen Allen Casino, which was in Long Island. There was Roseland Ballroom, which was downtown Broadway in New York. And then there's Savoy Ballroom. Well, the Glen Allen and Roseland was predominantly white dancers. And Savoy had white and African-American dancers, but it was mostly African-American. So I went to the Daily News to find out about this contest. They asked me, where do we live? So we said, we live in Harlem. So he says, "Oh, well, you've missed the preliminaries," which was held at the Savoy Ballroom. But Roseland's preliminaries is coming up, because you had to pass preliminaries to be eligible to make it to Madison Square Garden. So they told us what night, so we signed up and we danced at Roseland Ballroom. And we were a little hesitant because it was all white dancers. And right then there was still a little racism going on, But we chanced it anyway. We danced at Roseland that night, and we came in second, which was never recorded. They only had in the paper so many dancers were chosen to appear in Madison Square Garden, and they had everybody's name. But they didn't do first, second, or third like they did in the other ballrooms. I guess because of that night, they didn't, I guess they just passed it over that we had won second place, but we didn't care. So we danced, we made the preliminaries, and then we appeared in Madison Square Garden. And we didn't win anything that year. It took me a little while, because that was 1946 when we were at Madison Square Garden. So I kept plugging, I kept changing partners, trying to find the right one, which ended up being my husband. And it took us a couple of tries. We won third, we won second, The next year, we tied for third, and we didn't get it. And then 55, we won first place. Now, when you won first place in any of the categories, you signed contracts that night for professional entertaining, which made you become a professional dancer. So that night we signed contracts for Ed Sullivan's TV show, the Latin Quarter. There was a few other places, and that made us professional dancers.
It's amazing. What was your memory of being up at Madison Square Garden? You were there in front of how many people? 50,000, 30,000 people? What was that feeling? And do you remember the night that you won and what?
The night I won, the night that we tied for third and we didn't get it, I cried like a baby. My mother's sitting up there with my kids, you know, and afterwards she said, "What were you crying for? There's always next year, you know." Okay, so the next year when we won, I cried like a baby. But I was smiling from ear to ear. And when they came downstairs, my mother with the kids, and she said, "What were you crying for?" I said, "I was just so happy, you know, so stunned." You know, it was thrilling, you know. They present me with roses on the stage, you know, and then they says, "Well, now we'll take you in the back, and you have some contracts to sign." So my mother went back with me to read over and see what was what. And then you sign these contracts, and Sullivan shakes your hand, you know, and he was calling us his niece and nephew, you know. So then you appear for your appearances that you have signed for, and that was so great, yeah. Oh, and they also gave us a check. Each one of us, we got our own check. He got his check, and I got my check.
Amazing. Barbara, I also understand you competed in the Harvest Moon Ball.
It's about time you asked me. Well, it started like this. I really had no intention into entering into the Harvest Moon Ball. But I was at the Savoy and dancing with everybody and going around doing what they was doing and so forth. And this fellow named Willie Posey.
Excuse me. Barbara, how did you come to the Savoy?
Oh, you want me to tell it, huh? Okay. Okay. See, I was trying to be nice, but she won't let me. When I first came to the Savoy, I used to dance around in the floor, but I never danced with any of the fellas because I figured I could not do that. So they used to have a big circle. And every now and then, a couple would get in the circle and do a little bit, then somebody else would get in the circle and do a little bit. And one night, I was on the side trying to do what I saw them do by myself. All of a sudden, this man came up to me and he grabbed my hands. When he grabbed my hand, he said, "Come on, come on." I said, "I'm not going out there." He said, "Yes, you are." I said, "But I don't know what to do." He said, "Do what I've been seeing you doing every night you come in here." He said, "Come on." And I was trembling. I was so scared I didn't know what to do. But once I got on that floor, the scaredness left. And then once the scaredness left, this person would come out and dance with me. This guy would come out and dance with me. And after that, I thought I was doing something. So I was doing whatever they told me to do. And then the fellows, they knew when you was a new person. And they tried to make you feel comfortable, you know? And only take one of the guys to start it. Then that was good. I left there that night, and I went home, and I went to work the next day. I said, I got to get back up there. I got to dance with that fella, because he started the rest of the fellas dance with me. So all of a sudden, I walked in there, and this girl came up to me. "Do you know who you was dancing with last night?" I said, "No." "That was my husband." I said, "Oh my God, I'm in for it now." But she said, come here. Let me show you what he was trying to get you to do." I said, okay. So she took me aside and she did whatever she could. And from that day to this one, she and I been last like that. Just like that.
Do you remember what year and what date that was?
Let me see. Around 51 or 56, something like that. I don't remember, man. I'm too old to remember.
Maybe a little
I ain't got time.
It might have been like maybe 53, something.
Around 53.
54.
Yeah. See, I told you.
Yeah,
she know.
1954.
Well, that's a wonderful. And Barbara, what is your favorite memory of dancing at the Savoy? Can you tell people what it was like? What was it like to dance at the Savoy Ballroom?
It was heaven. It really was. The floor, the place was so big. I had never seen a place that big before in my life. And the floor was so nice, but they told me, I don't know how true it is, but when you're dancing, the floor gives. So that kept, so people would dance all night long. Nobody wanted to sit down, no matter what they was playing. And remember, certain nights they had different of the dances too. But Sugar and I was always there then. From then on, man, I look forward to seeing her. Because she let me dance with her husband. I was enjoying that. Because he taught me quite a bit. So did she. So I really enjoyed dancing at the Savoy. I was really hurt when they decided to tear it down. But I really, really enjoy it. And I wish it's some place that you really can't explain. You have to see it. And it's too bad that they don't have a film that you can really see everything. There's certain nights how everything went. Unless in Chester, he good at, doing things like that. But this way you can see what it was like. You can see the beautiful figure things and the lights and the chandelier and so forth. You really will enjoy it. And everybody came to Savoy. Everybody. And when you come in Savoy, it's just like one big happy family. There was no white, there was no black, everybody was one. And everybody would dance with each other. Am I right?
Oh, yes.
All right, I shut up now.
Oh, yes. The Savoy was our second family. And our second home. We were up there in the afternoon. We would go maybe like 11, practice steps until like 3, and then we would go home. I'd feed my kids, take a shower, change clothes. My mother would babysit, and I'd go back. And we would dance from like 10 to 3 in the morning. This was 7 days a week. And we loved it. And everybody, the ones that came before us, they would show us in the daytime, they would show us steps, and we tried to learn them, It wasn't like a class where somebody take time, to break down the steps, like I did this morning for the students. No, they would show you a step. And I said, well, can you show me that again? Okay, I'll show it to you again. And they show you to you a couple of times, and then you had to try to get that step. And this is what we did in the daytime. There was the bandstand accommodated 2, maybe 26-piece orchestras. That's how big the bandstand was, that they could sit up there at the same time. And the music was continuous. There was no breaks. When one band was ready to take a break, the song they was playing, they were joined by the second band on the same song, and then the first band, after a couple of choruses, the first band would leave the bandstand. So the music was continuous from 10 to 3 in the morning. We want to go to the bathroom. We run to the bathroom, and we're in there, and the matron in there, and she said, oh, hurry up. They changed the song. Oh, the band has changed, and such a person is singing now, one of those things. And we were rushing, to get out of there, to get back on the dance floor. The guys all came in suits, shirts, and ties every night. or else you didn't get in there. You had to have on a shirt, tie, and a suit.
And shoes, no sneakers.
No, yeah, the guys wore shoes, but we wore sneakers.
Well, we can wear sneakers.
They
but
let
the
us
guys-
wear sneakers, but the guys had to wear shoes. Yes, yes, the guys had to wear shoes. Yeah, and like I said, we would dance and they were wringing wet. But I was told that they could have their suits pressed like for 10 cents or 15 cents, something like that. So that's what went on in the Savoy. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to turn it here to a guest on stage, one of the legends who hasn't spoken yet, and that's Mr. Chester Whitmore. Chester Whitmore, I think he is a legend in many ways because he's actually spent a lot of time with many of the legends. He is a choreographer, a stuntman, a drum leader, a drummer, a band leader, an arranger, a choreographer. He's a martial artist. He has, I think, one of only a handful of people in the world who has a 10th degree black belt in Hapkido. He's got a black belt in Goju-Ryu. He's got a brown belt in Judo and a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So you don't want to get in a fight with Chester.
Go ahead with your bad self.
He also he's also worked with Jackie Chan. He's also worked with many of the other top martial artists that you've seen in movies. He was a choreographer for Michael Jackson, for MC Hammer, for Prince. He worked with Lionel Hampton, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Miles Davis, Sammy Davis Jr. He has been also a tap dancer, was trained by Faird Nicholas, which he may tell you a little bit about. And I think when he had an agent in the 80s or 90s who asked him what he did, and Chester put down like 12 different things, the agent said, "This is impossible. No human being can do this, so we're just going to have him to be a choreographer." But he, in addition to all that, has probably one of the best knowledges of, I think, authentic jazz dance, traditional jazz dance of any person that I know. He basically consults in Hollywood, he consults all over the world, and he basically knows the history of authentic jazz dance and vernacular jazz dance from the 1800s to the present. So this is a walking encyclopedia. He knows more. He's basically worked with, of course, Frankie and Norma and Sugar. He choreographed a show most recently at the Apollo Theater for the Frankie Centennial, and he's seen all over the world. He never sleeps, and he will have more energy than everybody in this room combined. So this is Chester Whitmore. So Chester. I think he does windows too. He wants to make sure that you know that. He's also a winner of multiple Smithsonian awards, and he's toured the world with his 27 times. Okay, so he's done a lot. So maybe Chester, do you want to start by telling us how you started dancing?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't a shake dancer. Judging these ladies. Well, I started off, like everybody, I wasn't supposed to be a dancer. Dancing, I like seeing dancers, but being a dancer, not in my head. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller, I write, I storyboard, I make things happen. I was taking film at the age of 11. I was a film editor, way before the digital. And about that time, they made us do documentaries, how to tell stories through film and everything else. And one day they had a dance troupe from Philadelphia came down. They said, "You kids are gonna shoot these people, and I want this shot." Okay, we gotta learn about what type of dance. They were doing ballet and stuff. So I started studying different styles of dance. And one of the guys said, "You got to experience it so you can know what to shoot." I said, okay. So I went in there and looked at them turning and everything. I thought it was pretty good. And it put to my mind curiosity. There's so many different forms of dance, country, western, polka, this, and I wanted to know what the Afro-American forms of dance and the vernacular form. And I said, okay. And since I was in film, I always loved musicals, all the great old musicals. And I said, what kind of dancing do you like? I like that, like Bill Robinson, Fred Astaire, that type of dance. And they said, oh, they don't do that no more. You're not going to find none of that out here teaching none of that stuff. I said, if I wanted to dance, that's the style of dancing I would want it to do. So I was on a quest to look for the missing vernacular dance. And I was up there with my bicycle looking at dancing. This is around the late 60s. And I was running around. And at that time, the vernacular form has died away, and with Agnes de Mills that came by, and a lot of the contemporary forms. And they had tap dancing, but the tap dancing was kind of, it was watered down. I got in there, and I don't think I wanted to do ballet. I looked like a black Q-tip, in that tutu. I can't do that, no, none of that type of thing. So I said, I went into the tap class, and they said, learn this, and this type of. I said, okay, well, something's better than nothing. Then a lady named Angela McIntosh came. Chester, there's this guy at the Inner City Cultural Center, great cultural center, teach you how to write, do stage plays and everything else. And this guy teaches on Wednesday nights. You got to catch him. He's fantastic. I said, okay, I'll go there. I had my little tap shoes, and I rode my bicycle. In them days, it was those old banana bicycles, the banana seats. So what there, he wasn't there. He was. I said, oh man, either I was too late or something. So I was riding on the way back. There on Pico Boulevard, right there in Los Angeles on Pico Boulevard, there's this car. These guys trying to change this wheel, and nobody was helping this gentleman. The cars was just shoo, shoo, shoo. I said, God, how come nobody's helping this guy? So I just rode by. I said, you need some help? He said, yeah, I need some. So I got out and I started helping him, pulled out the wrench and started. And he looked on my handlebars and he saw my tap shoes hanging down. He said, oh, you're a hoofer. I said, what? A hoofer. I thought he was calling me a hooker or something. I don't know what I said, he said, no. Dancer. You're a dancer. Oh, that's what that means? Yeah. He said, I dance. I'm thinking, yeah, sure you do. Yeah, I'm up there pulling these big old heavy tires. And yeah, let me just get this thing on here for you. If you want to learn, just call me. I'll be glad to help you. I said, yeah, sure. He gave me his card and everything. I said, yeah, okay. So I put it away. And I said, as long as I did my good deed for the day, and I just took off. 2 weeks later, I was getting frustrated trying to find these different answers. And my mother said, you should take that man's offer. I said, what? You're getting frustrated. You take his offer up. Just go up, call him, tell him you're going to come. I said, okay. And so I went to his house and knocked on the door. Boop, opened up the door. He said, oh, you made it. I said, oh. It was like he was expected me to be there. I was like, okay. So I walk in. He says, come on in. You ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. Then he grabbed the rug and he whipped it back, and there was beautiful wooden floor down there. He said, show me what you got. I said, stand back. Read that. He looked at me and said, he said, try this. He got on the floor and said, I looked at him, he looked at me, I looked at him, I looked at the floor, I said, mine doesn't look like yours. He said, if you want to learn, and you really want to learn, I will teach you. And I said, okay, so there was a beginning of a friendship. Come to find out, that was the same gentleman that I went to the school, but he wasn't there because of the car was messed up. And we would rehearse, and from him I met a lot of interesting people. At this time, it didn't click in my head, because all his friends that came there, they all can dance. I mean, everybody there can dance. I was like, oh boy, I'm surrounded by all these people. I was with him for 2 years. Dancing from 7 to 1 in the morning, 7 hours a day, without taking your shoes off, just tapping. I learned a series of different acrobatic tap. I did acrobatic, eccentric, comedy, soft shoes, eccentric. And then 2 years later, he had me teach it. He gave me my first job, and I was working. And then late at night, you guys got to realize this is like late 60s and early 70s. I'm turning on TV, and all of a sudden, this musical come on. I go, wow, this is an all-black cast. I'm going, whoa. Oh, that's that guy that worked with Shirley Temple. Oh, there's the guy. Oh, Heidi, ho. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's Fats Waller. I'm going, oh. And everybody, I said, God, oh, yeah, all these people can dance. I mean, everybody was there. And then at the end of the movie, these two guys come flying up, jumping over, doing the splits, going, kataya, 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 flipping in the air. I'm going like, what? And next morning, I told all my friends, man, did you see that movie last night? You know, these guys, acrobatics, and it was all black musical. My friend said, there ain't no black musical, man. There ain't no black musical. You dreamed that. No, and they did all this stuff. You dreamed that. I said, no, I saw black people on TV. You know, they didn't believe it. They just thought I was crazy. So I went back to my instructor, and I said, he said, what's wrong? I saw this movie the other night and nobody believed me. And these guys went down these giant steps and stuff. He said, oh, wait a minute, hold on a minute. He pulled out the drawer and pulled out these, 8x10s, big old. And I said, yeah, there's the Heidi Ho guy. And that's the guy with the Shirley Temple. And I said, oh, that's you. And it come to find out it was Fayard Nicholas of the Nicholas Brothers. And through that gentleman, he got me started into the world of dance, and the people, that answered my question, why all these other people have been. The people that were in our class, we had Eleanor Powell, we had Donald O'Connor, Argalia Thompson. He was the son of U.S. Slowpoke Thompson, and in the 1900s, they created, worked with Eddie Rector, the first saw shoe. Eddie Rector, really classy stuff. And I had a chance to work with Willie Colban. He was the first Afro-American that had a dance studio on the MGM lot that taught Ann Miller, that taught Eleanor Powell, that taught all Dan Daly. These are certain names in the MGM family that was dominated. You're talking about musicals, it dominated, And we're talking about the jazz idiom, all the way from the Harlem Renaissance, all the way to the Midwest, to Chicago, Bronzeville, to Los Angeles, Central Avenue. These are the dancers that dominated these different forms of dances. And I had the pleasure in working with these different dancers. They would throw me the throwaway kid, Fayard had me for 2 years. Clarence Landry of the Hi-Hatters that worked with Duke Ellington. I learned syncopation dancing from him. Esmond Mosby, the creator of the Peking, the group called the Three Chocolatiers. I worked with Frances Neely. She taught me all the chorus line dances and women's chorus line dances. And then when I went to St. Louis, I worked with Catherine Dunham. I did Dunham dancing. I did Horton technique. I got a chance to work with Horton technique. And of course, I met the one and only John Bubbles, and then Leonard Reed. I learned all my styles of how to put a show together with Leonard Reed. So it's different forms of dances from different era, but they were all connected. They were all connected. Lindy came from a gentleman named Archie Savage. He was like he was a Caribbean dancer, and it was so funny about the circle we used to talk about. I said, Archie, where you learn Lindy from? Oh, my teacher was Norma Miller. I said, what? And my first time meeting Norma was 76. I was working as a television grip, and she was on the television. She was doing comedy at that time. She was on the Richard Pryor show. Who can get drunk the most?
Well, thank you very much. That's Chester Whitmore. So getting back to our two beautiful ladies over here. Barbara, I was wondering, so that's a very memorable moment of you meeting Sugar at the Zavoy Ballroom, and Sugar was kind enough to let you dance with her husband and then show you a few steps. you also had a chance to, I understand, dance in the Harvest Moon Ball, and then you and Sugar joined Sonny Allen and the Rockettes. Can you tell me a little bit about your career in dancing, both maybe if you want to touch on the Harvest Moon Ball, but then also as a dancer with Sonny Allen?
Well, Sonny Allen, he won Harvest Moon Ball in 1958. So during that time, after he had decided to get a group to, well, let me go back up. Something just came to me. When Sonny used to go to the Savoy and dance, he liked to dance. He liked to dance with, everybody. And he had asked someone to dance with him. And she said, no, you can't dance. He said, one day, I'm going to have you working for me. In 1958, Sonny won the Harvest Moon. He came to me, he said, Barbara, I want to get a group together. And I want, 5 or 8 girls, I forgot how many we had during that time, and a band in his South. So I said, okay, let's try. Guess who was working with Sonny Allen? He said, you remember when I told? I said, yes, I remember. He went straight over there to her and asked her, would she mind going on the road? Oh, yes, no problem. I'll go. So he came back and told me, he said, see there? He said, she don't remember that I told her one day she's going to work for me, and she wouldn't even dance with me. But we worked, Sonny worked us to death. It wasn't like people doing things now. We had to get up early in the morning and rehearse. And if one person made a mistake, we all better make that mistake. Otherwise, he was taking money. He said, you don't work for me and chef around and don't do what I told you to do. And sometimes someone would say, well, I can't do that. He says, no such word as I can't. He said, try. And he did that. He really did. He took us all over. We didn't have to go to places to get gigs like most entertainers had to. We didn't have that problem. Sonny did it for us. And let me tell you this. We was out in Canada, I think, was it Canada? She don't remember, but she'll remember when I tell it. And this man came up to her and said, I'd like to take you out to dinner. Before she can say anything, we don't know where Sonny comes from. Sonny said, oh, yes, we all would like to go out to dinner. We said, but Sonny, he didn't ask you. He said, if one go, everybody go. So he took us all out to dinner. I let Sugar finish that.
Sonny protected us because during that era, women entertainers, to get anywhere, they had to go to directors or producers' offices, and they would show them their couch, if you know what I mean, okay? But he protected, he had 4 girls, and he had promised our families that we would stay safe. He would bring us home the same way we left. And he lived up to that. When he went to agents' offices, he took photographs. We had the most expensive photos made. When you went to a producer or a director to show them photos, they had to be from certain photographers. There were certain photographers in New York, in Hollywood, different cities. Those were the names that they recognized. Now, if you had these photographers that took your photos, then you must be good. So they would hire you. So in New York, Kriegsman was one of the photographers. And we all pooled our money together to get these fabulous photos made. And that's what Sonny would take. And he took those photos to the producers, directors, and told them what we did on stage, and that's the way he booked all of our gigs. Now, we traveled cross-country and across Canada together for 13 years. And we didn't go out of town overnight 2 days. We went out of town for weeks and months. We was in one club in Canada, one club for 6 months. And the only way we came home was we had to quit. They said, this woman, if she liked the black group, you didn't go nowhere. She wouldn't even let us come home on a visit. During Christmas, the clubs closed the day before Christmas, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas. So everybody didn't want to come home, just the ones that had children. I had children. My partner, she had children. And so we just wanted to come home just for a visit, you know, see my husband and see the kids. She said, if you leave, you can't come back. So we stayed there for 6 months. This was in Toronto. And we were so disgusted. The place was packed. We kept a crowd. But how many times can you change costumes? You know, how many times can you change the routines? I was always designing something new. I designed all of our costumes, and I would cut them out. And then the girls I taught them how to sew, and they would sew up their costumes. And we just got so tired of being there. We just wanted to go home, you know. So we had a meeting, and we decided we're going to quit. We've been here 6 months straight. And we quit, and we came home. So that was the longest we was in one place. But we would be in maybe a month someplace, 3 weeks like that. And it was great. And we went back to certain places over and over again because they really liked the show. And eventually, not too long, we was in Boston at the, I can't remember the name of it, Birdcage or something like that. But then had another gig, and it was outside of Boston. So on the way to the other gig, Sonny said, oh, I forgot to tell you girls, you're going to be singing on the next gig. We said, what? So yeah, we're going to be singing. And the driver that we have this time in the car, he's your voice teacher. So when we got to the next gig, for 24 hours, we were practicing singing. Barbara did singing, some little singing, and I did a little singing. But the other girls had never sang. So we trying to get this harmony together, you know. It ended up being a 3-part harmony, not 4 parts. Because one girl would jump from Barbara's voice to my voice. So we had a 3-part harmony. But we got it together. And the night we opened up, we wowed them. Yes, we did. So I'm designing very quickly, making these. We got to have costumes to sing in and to dance in. So I think we were like the first ones that had breakaway clothing. I made gowns that we could take off on stage. And underneath was our dance outfits. It was all made in the same fabric, you know, that type of thing. And it went over great. And from then on, we were singing and dancing, doing African dancing. We did tap numbers, because Sonny and I did tap dancing. We had a girl that did comedy on when we did Lindy Hop. She didn't know Lindy Hop, but she did a little comedy with doing the Charleston, and then we did our Lindy solos. My partner was a girl, and I was followers, so she threw me around, and Sonny and Barbara danced together, and Barbara was the flyer in their act. And that's when we were in our act with Lindy Hop. We did African, tap, Latin, and modern jazz, and ended our act with Lindy Hop. So we traveled across Canada for like 13 years doing that.
Wow, amazing. So I think there's so much still to be said, so many memories, so many questions I have for you. What I'm going to do is maybe just ask you briefly for each one of you to think about your entire dance career. What was one of your favorite memories? So I'll let you maybe think about it, and I'll have Chester start first. When you start to think of your dance career and all the people you met, what was one of your favorite moments? Well, you go. You think about it. I mean, you work with Leonard Reed. Leonard Reed, by the way, does everybody know who Leonard Reed is?
Oh, Jesus.
Leonard Reed is the gentleman who invented the shimshan. And so Chester had a chance to work with him. But what is one of your favorite memories?
Memories? Like I said, there's high points. There's, like you said, meeting John Bubbles, meeting Leonard Reed. Recently, when we did Frankie 100, I think that's one that definitely was achievement because I got a chance to, I mean, not just to be involved or just to be around people, but be a part of a historical value, being a part of a community of dancers all over the world, not just a segment. That's something that you love so much that you find people that love it as also that you had. Meeting legends like these ladies right here, Norma, Frankie, Chaz, the other people, and people from all the different cities. They got a chance. And I got to thank this guy here because I knew when there's 100s come one time. And doing a big event to pull all the elements of dancers together, he trusted me to direct this show. You know, he started off as, are you going to the 100th? I said, yeah, I'll go there. Then 2 weeks later, he'll come back and say, would you like to MC? I said, okay, you need an MC? Sure, I'll be honored to MC. Then a week later, he says, could you write the show? I said, okay, who's directed it? Oh, yeah, by the way, would you direct the show? Then I said, okay, but it was cool. It was all right because that's the type, he knows that's the type of thing I do. I'll write the music. I wrote the skits. I said, all the elements was there. I had nothing to worry about. I had all the great people. They were top notch. All I had to do was say, okay, I want you to do this, bye. And let them take it over, you know, and bring it back. But I just knew I wanted to do so. I think that was definitely one of the highlights, doing something that I love to do and seeing the people that they got a chance to do something that everybody got a chance to show off their talent and their ability, something like that.
And there's only one person who could have done that job, and that's Chester Whitmore. Barbara, what comes to your mind as one of your favorite moments in your dancing career?
Well, like I told you, when I first went to the Savoy and this man came over me and danced with me, and this lady came up and told me who she were, I will never forget that. But you know, I met a lot of people dancing and so forth, and I met a lot of people. But I would like to say this, y'all. Don't stop dancing. Don't care how old you get, don't stop dancing. And another thing, when you come to a place like this, always bring somebody else with you. They had never, you'd be surprised. They would enjoy it, and then the next year, they bring somebody with you. We have to keep this going. You know, we have to really keep it going back and forth. So please do me that favor. Do not stop, and always bring another person with you.
Sugar, you get to close us. What was your favorite memory of your time dancing?
Well, there was a few. Winning the Harvest Moonball, which was number one. You know, and then joining Sonny and with him teaching us all of those routines. I never thought I would be doing all those dances, you know. And of course, doing the Frankie 100. Elliott called me and says, we're putting on a big show at the Apollo Theater, and we'd like for you to be there, you know, and you and Barbara. I said, great, you know. He said, Chester's directing and so forth and so on. Who was going to be in it, you know? And I said, oh, yes, you know. And then when we came, and this crazy guy here, you know, he's saying, we sitting there waiting all day, we watching everybody rehearse, you know, he's calling up this one, and okay, I want you to do something, blah, 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 okay, all right. Chester, and then we finished with that one, when are we, he says, don't worry about it, okay, I'll get to you, okay, all right. And we sitting, Barbara and I, we running off at the mouth, you know, and he rehearsed 2 or 3 more acts, you know, and said, Chester, you forgot about us? No, I didn't forget you, you know. And finally he said, listen, don't y'all worry about nothing. Y'all are professionals, you know. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Okay, Chester. So maybe about a couple of hours before the show, everybody rehearsed all day. He says, oh, by the way, this girl's going to dance with y'all. Her name is Angie. What's her name? Okay. And he says, there's a little room over there, you know. And we went over there, and he says, okay, I want y'all to do and you come out, and then you come out, bam, you know, and then y'all take it from there. All right, Chester. And then he walked out the room, you know, and hi, Angie, glad to meet you. You know, what the heck are we gonna do, you know? So he had given us a couple of steps, so we got those together, and then each one did a solo, and we took it from there. This man put on a 2-hour show at the Apollo. We did 2 2-hour shows in one night. Every act had standing room, every applause, every act for 2-hour shows twice in one night. It was great. He's a genius.
I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
I knew I had no problem.
Yes.
And the amazing thing, Barbara said, they said, we haven't even heard the music.
Oh, yeah, he wrote something for us, too, to dance to.
And I got to tell you, Barbara and Sugar and Angela tore it up. They tore it up. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. I want to give a big round of applause for Barbara Billups, Chester Whitmore, and soon-to-be 90-year-old Sugar Sullivan. I'm Elliott Donnelley. Thank you very much. These are the legends of Lindy Hop. If you have a chance, you should spend some time with them. This is walking history, amazing people. Thank you very much and enjoy the night.